You're watching Medfield TV.
Welcome to Mupdates, your monthly Medfield updates. I'm Audrey.
And I'm Tom. Today we're talking about December 2019. It's been a chilly one, chilling and thrilling.
Let's get into it. There were multiple festive events this month in Medfield. The Cultural Alliance of Medfield held its 5th annual holiday stroll on December 6th. This is a family event that took place at 20 venues along Main Street, Spring Street, and North Street. There were 40 juried artisans, food vendors, interactive video projection, carolers, and Memo's outdoor tree lighting ceremony. Thank you to the Cultural Alliance of Medfield for putting on yet another successful stroll. There's a recap video by Medfield TV that can be viewed on our website, medfield.tv, or on our YouTube page, Medfield TV.
We also held our very own Winter Wonderland as part of the holiday stroll. People of all ages came in to interact with our green screen and to check out some awesome decorations provided by our friends over at the Wheelock School. There is a video recap of our Winter Wonderland as well as a video of our Wheelock friends making their decorations that can both be viewed on our website, medfield.tv, or on our YouTube page, Medfield TV. Thank you to everyone who came out and supported Medfield TV at our Winter Wonderland.
A couple of other events that happened this month were the Holiday Parade, the Angel Run, and Spaghetti with Santa and a few winter friends.
The entire holiday parade was filmed by Medfield TV and can be viewed on our website, medfield.tv, or on our YouTube page, Medfield TV.
The 14th annual Angel Run was on December 8th and had over 1,200 people participating.
Spaghetti with Santa and a few winter friends, a holiday tradition in its 46th year, happened on December 10th. Guests enjoyed dinner, music, and much more.
Now we have a weather report from our Assistant Production Coordinator, Linnea.
It's December, so that means it's really cold. Medfield Public Schools had their first snow day on December 3rd. That's all I have. Back to you, Audrey.
Thanks for the weather update, Linnea. Well, folks, buckle your seatbelts and get ready for a journey. Next up are the updates from the selectmen meetings. There were 2 selectmen meetings in December 2019. At the December 3rd meeting, there was a public hearing for the annual tax classification. The issue discussed was whether all 5 classes of property, residential, open space, commercial, industrial, and personal, should be taxed at the same rate or at different rates for the fiscal year of 2020. During this meeting, Principal Assessor Yvonne Romillard gave an informational presentation.
Every year by statute, the Board of Selectmen must basically vote to split the rate or not. It is the responsibility of the Board of Assessors to provide the Selectmen with relevant information to help them make their decision whether they want to split the rate or not. So adopting a residential factor of 1 would result in the same tax rate, and this is what the Board of Assessors recommends and what we've always recommended.
I would move that we adopt the recommendation of the Board of Assessors for a unitary single tax rate.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
During the same meeting, there was also the fiscal year 21 budget meeting that included a capital budget discussion.
This meeting is commonly known as the annual Doom and Gloom meeting, as coined by the late Mike Sullivan, our previous town administrator. Be sure to check out Medfield TV's documentary, Open Door Policy, The Mike Sullivan Story, coming soon to our YouTube channel. If you absolutely cannot wait, you can also purchase a copy of a custom Medfield TV USB for only $20. The same goes for any production of Medfield TV you may want to purchase.
During the fiscal year 21 budget meeting, the chair of the warrant committee, Mike Pastore, presented.
A little different this year than last is that we're changing the way that warrant committee members are attached to departmental budgets, and this year we're trying to alter the framework a little bit in that the members are attached to the budget in general. So anyone that has that has any role in your budgetary process, we want to know that early, basically to minimize any surprises a week before town meeting. We will this year, as we tried to do last year, be looking historically, looking at historical turnbacks, certainly not to punish anyone for giving money back. That's a good thing, but we do want to make sure that budgets are an accurate portrayal of what we need for the next fiscal year. Additionally, we'll be looking at revolving funds, how they're used.
Christine Trierweiler, Medfield Town Administrator, reported that 97% of budgets have already been turned in.
Now let me just preface how we gave the guidance to department heads, which was level funded or cuts. And that was based on a phone call we received earlier this fall from Moody's Investment Services. And it was an unsolicited call. I don't think Georgia hadn't remembered in the 25 years or so she's been here that we'd ever received a call from Moody's asking us about our financial position. And basically what they were saying is, we've reviewed your fiscal year 18 and your fiscal year 19 financial standing, and we're concerned. They thought we used too much free cash to balance the budget. They did not like that we were not replenishing our reserves, and they issued a very stern warning to us that before you go out for the Dale Street project, you have to make a commitment to bolster your reserves. So we showed them that in the fiscal year 20 budget, we had a budget guidance policy and we stuck to it. We only used $500,000 in free cash. We put more money in stabilization, and we're developing a 5-year capital plan. So they were pleased with that. They didn't downgrade us on the spot, which is what we expected during that phone call. But still, we're issuing guidance to everybody to be as fiscally conservative in the budgets. The ones we've been reviewing since September, most of our department heads have adhered to that. We have very few requests for new employees, and most of them are level funded. And we're hoping to present that to you in January.
The focus of the meeting was to talk about a capital budget. Assistant Town Administrator Nick Milano has been working on a 5-year capital plan that is worth $138 million. Sharon Tatro, the chairman of the Capital Budget Committee, presented some of the capital scenarios.
One of the highlights of this is the need for fire trucks. And as we all have kind of, I think, heard around, is that we have 2 fire trucks, that one is really non-functional and the other one is very close to being that way. And so if you replace 2 fire trucks, that's about $900,000. And that's a very significant cost to the town. And to try to do a plan that not only solves all of our other problems plus the fire trucks, really led us to the first suggestion that we are making, is that we do treat the fire trucks as a separate issue, and that we would potentially do some kind of debt exclusion for those fire trucks in and of themselves at town meeting. And then alongside that, set up a capital stabilization fund. And so although we could kind of arbitrarily come up with a number, what we really tried to say was, what is kind of fair to the town, and what can we sustain, knowing that we have different things like Dale Street coming up. And so our proposal was to do a $850,000 capital stabilization fund. And even when you do that, it does not fund everything on this list. The issue with that, as I said, is that it doesn't do everything. But that is something we felt was really reasonable, and that was the first choice of the Capital Budget Committee. The second option we spent a lot of time talking about was, what if you did $1 million capital stabilization fund, but you tried to also handle the fire trucks within that? If you tried to do both fire trucks in the first year, then nobody gets anything. So really the proposal that is alongside that is that if we did a capital stabilization fund for $1 million, we would do 1 fire truck this year, 1 fire truck next year, and then see how that goes. The issue with that is that it hits you at even larger deficits of not being able to do all of the requests if they were deemed necessary. And then a third scenario that we put together just to look at would be kind of a combination of the two, which would be to do the 2 fire trucks, and then if you raised the capital stabilization fund to $1 million from the $850, that is the one option on the table that actually would fund everything that's on the list, and would give you extra in case something happened that we don't know about now, because it's 5 years down the road.
This is all just a discussion, so nothing was decided on as of yet. Also, during the December 3rd meeting, the selectmen had a general debrief discussion regarding the special town meeting, at which the zoning changes for the Medfield State Hospital passed.
It was obviously a close vote, given the requirement of 2/3, and I think just based on discussions with a lot of people afterwards, and again, it's anecdotal, but who reported voting yes, but it certainly was not. I did not take it as a ringing endorsement of the master plan or the preferred scenario or anything like that. I think that if there was a sentiment that gave the yes side the margin of victory, it was a sentiment to keep moving forward, but not necessarily to go ahead and try to make the master plan and the preferred scenario a reality. So I think there's still a lot of work for us to do. I think the one thing that occurred to me that we ought to talk about is what to do with the composition of the remaining committees, the 2 committees that we had. And I'll just sort of put on the table kind of my initial thoughts just as sort of something to shoot at. The first is I think we ought to probably only have 1 committee going forward. That's charged with this. I think essentially we ought to combine the master planning committee and the development committee, not necessarily the full membership of each, but not to have these 2 committees, because I'm not sure there's still a role for separate committees given what's going forward.
I sort of mirror what you're saying, actually. I think that for me, the vote was an endorsement to see what comes next. I think it does make sense to go forward with the development committee and see if anybody, see if we, reconstitute it at this point. I think that's a good idea.
My personal favorite part of the meeting was Selectman Murphy's Selectman Report, in which he gave us a special shout out. Roll the footage.
We have a bunch of young adults here in town who are doing a lot of important things, to include people who come here to make sure that these Board of Selectmen meetings go out on Medfield TV. So kind of maybe they don't always get told how much we appreciate they're here, and they don't always get told how big an impact they have on letting this town, or causing this town to be the town that it is.
And that was the December 3rd meeting. If you'd like to view the full meeting, check out our YouTube page on Medfield TV or our website, medfield.tv.
Moving on to the second Selectmen meeting of December, held on the 16th. Jay Duncan, chairman of the Medfield Master Planning Committee, gave an update on where they are in the process.
We received 4 submissions for the master plan process. We shortlisted 2. We interviewed both of those candidates, and then we ended up selecting 1 community circle. We've been working with them since I think the contract was signed early July. Within 2 weeks, we had our first meeting. We've been meeting pretty much monthly. We've had a number of outreach. We had a kind of interviewing folks in town. We had a community forum, which I think at least 2 of you were at, which was extremely successful. We had, I think, 100 or 200 folks. 125. Really, really engaged. We had a meal, and then we had a really great process where we asked a lot of questions, got a lot of feedback.
Do you have a ballpark on when you're expecting the plan?
Yeah,
is there
I think,
a target?
well, since our last meeting's towards the end of June, I think right now.
Also during the December 16th meeting, Town Planner Sarah Raposa requested the Selectmen vote to create the Complete Count Committee 2020.
It's really just making sure that people know what the census is, that there is a difference between the U.S. Census, federal census, and the annual town census, and that it's important to respond to both.
My view is this is the committee that does not require a Board of Selectmen to initiate or establish, that I think this is something that, if it makes sense for the town to do it, we ought to just let the town administrator launch the committee, put the people on the committee that you'd like to have. I'm not quite sure why it needs to even be up at our level to approve it.
Look how much free press we got on this, though.
I know.
During this meeting, there was also a continued fiscal year 21 budget discussion.
I asked Christine and Nick in the interim after our last meeting to add 1 additional scenario to the scenarios under consideration, and that would be to mimic, with respect to the capital stabilization fund and the fire trucks, the current projection for what we're going to do with the building stabilization fund and the roofs, which is that we would still look to borrow for the fire trucks, but to pay the debt service out of the stabilization fund instead of having a separate debt exclusion for the fire trucks.
Following that, there was a discussion regarding Medfield State Hospital and the solicitation of interest in a committee as discussed in the December 3rd meeting.
Possibly soliciting or considering additional people to be on the development committee who might have some additional skills or specialized expertise that could be helpful to the town. If people would be interested in doing this, we're looking for people who have construction expertise, real estate expertise, kind of to be added to be considered to be added to the development committee.
Town Administrator Trueweiler gave an update on the town clerk process.
I've reached out to the Town Clerks Association to ask them to supply me the list of retired town clerks who'd be interested in serving on an interim basis for us on a part-time and interim basis. And then I am seeking interested town hall employees who currently serve when the town clerk is absent, doing birth certificates, that kind of thing, to see if they'd be interested in being named as assistant town clerks for that time as well.
In her update, Town Administrator Trierweiler reported that the town has received a handicap accessibility grant for $40,000.
So we'll get started on our ADA transition plan right away.
Is that great? What's that particularly focused on, parts of the town?
So part of when Jerry McCarty did the master plan for us, one of the things he said is, I'm not qualified to do the full ADA piece of that, and that's missing from the plan. So when we started looking at it for the capital, Nick, I think it was his first week, said there's this grant program. It's a long shot. The state told us it's a long shot, but we may as well put it in. If we're telling all the other department heads to file for grants, we should be doing it in the town administrator's office. He put it in, and we got it. So it will fill that gap in the.
So it's a planning grant.
It's a planning grant, and we're hoping, it's pending our procurement for it, that there will be money left over to also look at sidewalks and curb cuts as well. So we did identify that as a piece of it, which is, I'm assuming, why we got the full 40,000.
And those are the updates from the December 16th Selectmen meeting. If you'd like to watch the full meeting, be sure to check out the video on our website, medfield.tv, or on our YouTube channel, Medfield TV.
Moving on to school committee updates. There were 2 school committee meetings in December 2019. One was on the 5th and the other was on the 19th. On the 5th, we were updated by representatives for each class. They commented that students from their grades gave wonderful feedback from their first pep rally of the academic year. Each representative also gave an overall report about the current students of Medfield High School in their respective grades.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Panciaco, and I am the representative for the class of 2023. Over the last few student government meetings, we have come up with a fundraiser idea for our future prom. We have decided to partner with Papagenos. They will donate 20% of all orders between the time of 4 to 9 p.m. on December 16th to the class of 2023.
Hello, my name is Carrie White, and I'm the representative to school committee for the class of 2022. Student government has unfortunately not made much progress on our fundraiser. We are starting to think of new ideas that we think will be overall more beneficial, since our previous idea hasn't really gone anywhere.
Hello, my name is Eliza Varr, and I'm the representative of the school committee for the class of 2021. The junior student government is also looking ahead at next year. For example, we made a down payment of $500 for the senior cruise, and we started to look at a DJ for prom.
Hi, I'm Ella, and I'm the representative for the class of 2020. So as student government, like Eliza was saying, we've been planning for the winter dance, which is tomorrow. As for our senior gift, we kind of mentioned it last time I was here, but we were talking about greening the cafeteria, so working on making parts of it more environmentally friendly.
There are a couple big notes to take away from this meeting. The first is the open discussion of increasing the GPA requirement for Medfield High School's National Honor Society from 3.33 to a 3.8 GPA.
So Gail and I over the past few years have presented at several national conferences for National Honor Society. And after speaking with several of the advisors there, we noted that our GPA requirements here in Medfield were considerably lower than most throughout the entire country.
So we kind of looked at what's the sweet spot to fall into if we think it's important to that we share the same or nearly the same academic standards as the surrounding towns.
We are going to change the Medfield High School chapter's National Honor Society requirements from a 3.33 to a 3.8 unweighted GPA. We plan on the students that are applying in February, the current sophomores, will still be applying under the 3.33.
Right. So it won't begin until
the following year. So the current freshmen, the class of 2023, will be the ones that will be required to receive a 3.8 GPA.
The last thing discussed at the meeting was the first draft of the fiscal year 21 budget, which will be presented on the 19th.
We're looking at just on the personnel side with contractual obligations, et cetera, looking at probably $1 million increase just on that, which is very similar to last year. Our goal right now is to present to you at the next meeting a budget with no more than a 4% increase. So I have a short presentation just to review some of the initial FY21 budget numbers. One of the things that we try to do is use our strategic plan to guide what we're doing. I think that the issue that we have, and we've talked about at the last meeting, is with the capital. That's, we have needs as a district in, certainly we're investigating and going through what we may need for modular classrooms at Memorial. And we're going to have to figure out a way to do that. So, because it looks like capital won't support that. So we'll have to work on that in the next month or two. Hopefully we have a plan before the public hearing so we can share some of that information.
In the December 19th meeting of the school committee, the big topic of discussion was the Dale Street project, which looks to improve the Dale Street school building.
Since our last meeting, we had the MSBA kickoff meeting. The folks from MSBA came to Dale Street. They really gave us the parameters of what we need to look for in terms of doing our preferred schematic report and our preliminary design program. Those two key milestones going forward with the project. I want to pass out the updated schedule, which I have here. So this is the project meetings and milestone schedule. This is going to be updated an awful lot, so we'll post this on the website, but you'll see that there are days in May and in June as well that we're far away from that, but it just gives you a really good outline of the number of meetings, what we're working on, what the goals and milestones are, and what we need to be working on. So we would look at a final grade configuration vote and education plan on 4/2/20. So April 2nd would be the target date that we would have for a final vote on the grade configuration to go forward.
And those are your monthly updates for December 2019, the last month of the decade. We hope you enjoyed this first update from Medfield TV. This is Tom.
And Audrey. To stay up to date with all things Medfield, be sure to like Medfield TV on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Medfield TV. Watch full episodes of all our shows on our website, medfield.tv, or on our YouTube page, Medfield TV.
And lastly, don't forget to tune in to our cable stations, channel 8, 12, and 22 on Comcast, and channels 36, 45, and 47 on Verizon.
Thanks for joining us on our first episode of Mupdates. See you next month.
Sorry.
I keep seeing floofs.
Where are you seeing these fluffs?
Floofs.
Oh.
Okay.
It's December, so that means it's really cold. Medfield Public Schools had their first snow day on December 3rd. That's all I have. Back to you, Audrey.
It's been a chilly one. Chilling.
And thrilling.
Let's get into it.
You're watching Medfield TV.